everyone, I'm Natasha and today I'm going to be reviewing The Chemist by Stephenie Meyer. Twilight was the reason I became a reader. I am so thrilled to be able to review one of Stephenie's books on my channel. With Stephenie's career, I had no idea if she would ever publish a book again after the success of Twilight. It's so exciting for me to be able to talk about this book that Stephenie Meyer wrote because I wasn't able to ever make reviews for Twilight or The Host because I read them before I was ever on YouTube. We're gonna start off with a small little spoiler-free section in this review. I would give The Chemist a 4.5 stars out of 5. It wasn't my favorite Stephenie Meyer read, but it was super entertaining, super action-packed. The main character was badass. The other 3 to 4 supporting characters were very well-rounded, a lot of fun, a lot of heart. When I first heard about this book, I heard that it was a thriller. I told people it was a thriller. It's not a thriller. It's more of like a running for your life espionage action-packed book. It's like Jason Bourne, because Jason Bourne is running for his life. He's trying to switch his identities from the government agency that wants him dead. That's very much like The Chemist. The main character has been on the run for her life for 3 years, and the agency that's been after her has attempted to kill her countless times. She has like a million booby traps set up for these people who come out to kill her, and she's managed to survive this entire time. That is until the government agency asks her to come back and help them out, and she can't resist because they're offering her life again. And then the story takes off from that point on. So I don't really want to go too much into the summary, just my main thoughts. I wasn't wowed by it. It wasn't like my favorite story. It did feel like coming home when Twilight was the book that made you read, and then The Host was like another one of your favorite novels. It was so like comforting just to come back to that. I think what was lacking from the book was a true connection with the main character, and I'm pretty sure that has to do with the decision that Stephenie made to write in third person. All of Stephenie's other books have been written in first person, and I think that's why everyone felt such like a kinship with Bella. We got to see inside of Melanie and Wanda's mind. By the end of the book, you know the main character, you have a sense of her. She's still like not a personality that I think I would ever want to be friends with. I'm not always looking to be friends with the main character in books, but that's what I've expected from Stephenie's work. But I think the supporting characters really kind of balance that connection. They're really fun and kind of lighthearted. And there's a dog, there's several dogs. I think I had more of a connection with the dogs in the book than the people. I've never read a book about being a spy or about like being on the run. Well, I mean, I think I've read plenty of books about being on the run, but I've never been in the mind of like a government agency. Like I've seen a lot of shows like it, like Quantico, I feel was very close to this book, like especially the first season of Quantico. The main character is set up as a terrorist. It's very gory. The main character, I'm not saying her name by the way because she has several different names. I never know which one to pick, so she's just gonna be the main character in the spoiler-free section. She's a torturer, so we get to see that side of her, like that coldness. It's kind of like when Bella was giving birth and like, you know, we all couldn't really take that. It's kind of like that, but tenfold. Like it gets worse. If I previously read like an espionage thriller type of book, I probably wouldn't think that this is the greatest story if I had others to compare it to, but being as that this is my only spy thriller book and it was super exciting and entertaining, like nail biting at times and butt clenching at times, I think it was great. And so if you guys have previously read any of Stephenie Meyer's books, you should pick it up. I think it's a great departure from what she's done in the past. Oh my gosh, her writing has changed so much. There's so many like big words that she was using that I had to actually look up. So 4.5 stars out of 5. Go pick it up. I'm also going to be doing a giveaway. This is the giveaway copy. My other copy is unbook jacketed. Check my Instagram for that giveaway coming soon. Now I'm going to go into the spoiler part of this review, so you guys better all leave. You don't want to be spoiled. So I'm assuming you guys have all read it. I have my notes here. There's some things I want to talk about. I think my favorite thing of the story was the paranoia that surrounded Alex in her desperate need to survive and all the booby traps, the serums that she made. Like I loved reading about how alive didn't make you feel anything. Like that is so cool. Like, I wish I had that serum. You probably would get addicted to it because it's like opium and painkillers. Still, that is like an incredible invention, and I love that she used it at the end with Kevin to like make him survive and be her soldier. This book made me think about how much I share of my life and routines that people could easily follow me on. The different measures that Alex had to go through to make sure that no one was tracking her, like the different disguises she had to put on, and she was changing like in the park when she was tracking Karsten. She even went as far as to be happy when her nose was healing differently. No, I want my old face back. I don't want to look any different. The most exciting parts of the book were the beginning when she captured Daniel, and then at the house when they were escaping, and then of course the end. The truth serum that Alex had to use on Daniel to like make her come with him. Like they had to go such a long way to get to the car in the airport, and then she had to strip him down and she put like a blanket over him. There's so much that she had to prepare for, and then she had like an entire barn to torture him to get information out of him. And Daniel was like a perfect little cinnamon roll. He was too innocent for the world that he was thrust upon it. And then this is where we meet Kevin, Daniel's brother. I knew it. Like, I knew that he was the one coming for Daniel. As soon as, like, she heard a plane crash, I was like, no, they found her. This is all set up. Because that entire time, you know, you're thinking, like, oh, this is fine. This is exactly what was going to happen. Like, this is the guy that's going to be distributing the deadly virus across America. As soon as she heard the plane crash, I was still thinking that it was her previous government agency that hired her that was coming after her. But then Kevin drops into their lives, and he brings Einstein and all of his dogs with him. And then finally when they came to, and Alex had explained to Daniel what happened, that his brother, well, she didn't explain his brother was alive. He had to see it for himself. He was trusting of Alex more than Kevin. From that point on, you just knew that Daniel was like a perfect little cinnamon roll. Even though this woman had just given him the most extreme pain that he's ever felt, he was still trusting of her and defending her. The romance in this book took a back seat in the story. And I think the story was mostly about survival. It happened so quickly. We knew it was happening because Daniel was already like attracted to her from the very beginning. It happened so quickly for Daniel, and it was easy for Alex to just succumb to that and for him to be her liability. But I guess the romance was there for Alex to develop more as a character. She was pretty stagnant for those 3 years that she had to survive. We got to see a nice development of Alex. The romance was not as addicting as what Stephenie has previously wrote. And I've read so many other things. This little like tiny romance was like a blip on my like hot meter. I read some pretty steamy things. When I read Twilight, it was like the first like steamiest books I've ever read. And then The Host the same. And it was like my first adult book, and I thought that was just like so good and amazing, and I love that scene where like she kisses. Okay, well, I'm not gonna talk about that. And Daniel still fell in love with Alex with her bruised face, the cut on her jaw, oh my gosh, and then the earlobe. Okay, let's talk about the dogs, because I loved all the dogs. I loved Einstein and how like fierce he was. Like, he reminded me of my dog Nico, because I have a husky. He was very smart. He's very much a watchdog, but of course like Einstein is like levels above my dog. If you guys read the acknowledgements, Stephenie talks about her German Shepherd. She says, and finally, thank you to Pocket, my gorgeous and IQ challenged German Shepherd, who, at the very slightest hint of danger, immediately cowers behind my legs, who will never love me the way he loves my husband. I know the feeling. He loves my dog loves my brother more. Who still doesn't understand the basic principles of the game of fetch. I love you too, you big, dumb, beautiful chicken. So Einstein, I'm assuming, was the complete opposite of her dog Pocket. I haven't read very many stories where dogs are like kind of the main characters. I'm so much more attached to animals and stories. Like, I can't watch animal movies because they're just all so sad. Oh, it was my worst nightmare when she started going into the escape plan. The Rottweiler died. I had to take a break. I couldn't read it. It was too much. I can't handle when animals are being hurt or they die. And then like Lola got shot. It was a lot. I couldn't take that part of reading the books. And then like she let all the dogs out. Sure, I want the humans to survive, but you have to sacrifice the puppies. When Lola's puppies were let out, I was like, no, I don't want anyone else to die. Alex was incredibly badass. She was such a strong female character. You could see how much Stephenie had progressed in her writing, you know, from all the backlash that she took from Twilight, and how Bella was just, you know, damsel in distress, and she was in an abusive relationship with Edward. I felt like Alex and Daniel were the complete opposite of Edward and Bella. Like, their relationship was such a departure from those first books that she ever wrote. And we meet Val at kind of the end of the story, and I I liked Val. She reminded me of Rosalie, very much so. She was tall, blonde, curvaceous, kind of cold. She was fun, and her makeover skills were very envious. I loved the getup that Dani had to wear to break Kevin out. I thought it was a wig at first until I realized that no, she actually probably bleached the crap out of his hair, which, by the way, would take a lot longer than 2 hours, but that's just my inner hairstylist coming out. And his beard was also bleached out, which would have taken a long time too because it would have turned orange. But again, details. One thing I noticed is that Stephenie talked about sweating a lot. I totally relate to. I sweat all the time. The situations that these characters were in were very human. There was a lot of sweating. Even Alex in her small little boyish frame was sweating a bunch. Like, imagine being in those fur coats when they were trying to escape from the doggy house and like sleeping in the back of the Hummer and sweating there. Kidnapping Carson's grandchild, she was sweating then. Those took a purchase in my mind and I did not forget that, and thank you, Stephenie, for talking about sweating. And then all the names that Alex had: Oleander, Ollie, Alex, Poison Lady, Juliana Fortis, the Chemist. She had so many names, and then of course all the names from the beginning, and then of course at the very end they captured Kevin. Things were going too well. They were hiding very well. No one was catching on to them. I like how Wade Pace kind of came out of nowhere. I was wondering why they were talking about the presidential election, but I figured she was writing this during, you know, all of the different primaries and everyone doing speeches and debates. So I figured, oh, let's just talk about it. I didn't actually realize one of like the running mates was going to be one of the people who wanted Alex and Kevin dead. So that was tricky. I liked that. And I liked how Kevin had to go in, spray serum into his nicotine patch. It was nice to find out that they had never been able to replace Juliana Fortis. Keep wanting to say Fortress, like foreign Triss's ship name, but it's Fortis. Fortis. Because that saved Kevin's life. I'm sure if they had someone in there who had the same serums, the same kind of pain torturing devices, that they probably would have gotten information out of Kevin. And I'm so grateful that Einstein was alive and that Lola survived. The Lola loose end was never really tied up, but in the epilogue they did talk about hearing dogs. I'm sure that they went back and got Lola. Alex's resolve at the end was very admirable. So instead of running, she went in like guns blazing. But then Dani gets shot. When I was reading, I was like wondering, like, is Stephenie really gonna kill off Dani? Doesn't seem like her style, but you never know. Like, we thought he was dead, like he was unconscious and there was a bullet through his heart, but then you remember the little thing that Stephenie wrote early in my book, how Dani is a mirror form of Kevin. So all of his organs are shifted to the left side of his body. That's so good. That was a good story. I really enjoyed it. And I thought the epilogue was genius with like the diners, drive-ins, and dives type of ordeal. And they're calling on the phone. And you know they're calling the dive that Alex, Dani, and Kevin all own. And they're gonna turn them down. So thank you all so much for watching my review of The Chemist by Stephenie Meyer. It was so weird and fun to be able to review a book by the author that made me read. And let me know your favorite parts, and if you agree with me on anything, like if you kind of felt distant from the main character, and any other parts that you thought that were like kind of problematic or different, whatever. Yeah, again, my favorite part was definitely all the booby traps and the serums and like seeing how that worked, and my imagination would never be able to come up with that. Supposedly Stephenie is working on a high fantasy novel next. I think she should be able to write anything that she wants to write. I'm here for whatever she brings us next. I will take it, I will buy it, and don't forget about the giveaway if you don't already own The Chemist. Thank you guys all for watching. I'm Natasha. I'll see you all in the future. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more from me, and click the little bell down by the subscribe button if you want to be notified of when I post new videos. I'll see you all in the future. Keep calm and fangirl on.